Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savion, and thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode. Here we talk about all things embracing our story, healing, and cultivating community. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. All of that helps us to grow. And today's episode is actually our 4 years anniversary episode. So we have been here for 4 years, and I will be sharing about my journey, our event last week that we did, and also just feedback from you guys. I am here at Hi Hello Labs in downtown Orlando in this beautiful studio space. And if you check out my Instagram, I also posted about events that we did there last week about community, connection, and friendship. And I am just so grateful for all the feedback that we got last week. And we even launched merch. So you can actually go on shecultivatesorl.com, and I'll put all the info below. And it is limited edition merch. We have hats as well as a t-shirt. And one of the t-shirts means a lot because in the front it says "Your story matters," and in the back it says "Your story is still being written." And I think that resonates a lot with this podcast because a huge part of it is just knowing that things that you have walked through sometimes can be very discouraging, but then you see that your story and your journey is still ongoing, and there's still a lot to look forward to. And so for this past week that we did our podcast live event, it definitely felt different. I had anxiety. It was good, and then also a little bit fearful because I'm like, how is it going to go? It started raining, and that was something that I was like, I know people in Florida, once it starts raining, people are not going to want to come. Well, it was amazing to see that we had over 60 people in the room that all came. There was literally just a few people that did not, and it was just the feedback. Everyone came in their pink because it was a pink party. And just being able to be in the room with women that want to have connections, that see the importance of friendship and connection. And I feel like that was just beautiful to see. One of the feedbacks that we got from this event, and I wanted to read it, which is about She Cultivates. It said, "She Cultivates is powerful. The women behind the event are extremely kind and caring. Everything they do it with love. It's difficult to make friends as easily as we once used to in school, but She Cultivates are bringing women together, encouraging women and helping them make new friends, all while having a great time, being vulnerable, courageous, and kind. No words can really describe how powerful She Cultivates is." So thank you for leaving that. We usually send feedback, and that was so heartwarming to read because that is our goal, that through every event you feel like you connected, that you feel that there are other women that are also seeking genuine friendships and relationships. Because as I've shared before, sometimes we focus so much and we learn so much about how to be a good partner, how to be a good mother, how to be X, Y, and Z, but friendship is not really something that we talk a lot about, or we even give sometimes that priority. But a huge takeaway was just how important it is to invest in your friendships and make time for them. And prior to my podcast live, I actually went and actually attended a podcast live from Jackie Hill Perry, and it was amazing. And I wanted to share a little bit about that because that was such a key takeaway. They talk a lot about just your relationship with God and the way that you see God, how you show up and share the gospel with other people through the life that you live, and also how sometimes we idolize our emotions as Christians and we put them superior to what God says. And I went with my sister, which was awesome. It was a great experience with her. And through that, I feel like I just saw how sometimes we think that by bringing up such vulnerable conversations that are maybe taboo is something that people are ugh, they don't like that, or it's it's better for us to be quiet. But it's no, it's so important to have those kind of conversations and share your opinion of things that maybe can help other people. And so in the podcast live, just there were so many key takeaways from just the way that you show up, how you show up in love versus trying to say that you're better than people, or the way that you come off, and how Christ really, that's what he wanted us to be like and represent him. It's through our love and how kind and genuine we are. And so sometimes people demonstrate Christianity or just they have a false sense of Christianity because of certain people that have not represented Christ well. And then those people, kind of tarnish the view of Jesus to other people, and so I just thought that was so important to always reflect, even for myself, of like, how am I showing up in the ways that it's not that I have to be perfect, but in the way that I'm showing love everywhere I go, and the way that I am allowing people to tell me how to um, show them love or to be there for them. We all want to be connected with, we all want to be seen, heard, and loved. And so sometimes we think that by us talking a lot or sharing a lot about us, that's what's going to connect with people. But sometimes people just want to be heard. And so asking important questions and actually holding space for people is the best thing that sometimes we can do. And that connected with then the following week of this week that I had my event. And it was a collab between She Cultivates and Beauty Marks podcast. And I shared last week that Beauty Marks podcast was really started because of my own process and journey. During that time, I had gone through a lot of changes in my life. I was 24 and that was like COVID time. I was 3 months kind of like let go from temporarily from a job. And they kind of put us like, hey, it's a temporary leave, but we'll let you know when we're ready because of the budget. And I was at home, I was doing a lot of social media content, and I just felt like I was really struggling with my anxiety and mental health. So I started doing things on Zoom. So I started actually with my counselor doing like Zoom meetups and going live more often and just kind of like sharing my heart and things that I was walking through. And that resonated with a lot of people. And I was like, how can we make space for this in a different capacity? And I was still going through my trauma bonded on and off relationship during that time. And I just felt like this is a way through podcasting to connect with people that, and podcasting, I feel like was on a rise in 2020, but now it's like next level. But I just started audio like from home, and I didn't think it was really honestly going to go anywhere. It was more like I wanted to just prove to myself that I was consistent and persistent and that I can do something for a year. And I did it literally every Monday. And I would post, did it on my GarageBand, like me, myself, and I at home. And if you look back to the audio or you hear back to those episodes, is definitely a little bit different quality than these mics today. But I did with what I had, and then it evolved to something else, and then did in-person events. And I remember my first celebration of my 1 year. I brought like a few people together at my house, and we celebrated 1 year of the podcast because I felt like for a long time I was like, the things that were glorified or the things that were praised or like celebrated were like when people got engaged or when people got married. And I was going through a heartbreak during that time. And I was like, I want to celebrate this because it's worth celebrating. And I want to make it a big deal. And I want it to be something that is like I'm growing something within this community. And so that has been like a tradition now, like literally a yearly celebration of this podcast, because it is through my own pain that really birthed this and that started Beauty Marks podcast. And for seeing now, like 4 years later, right, people that are following me now or that they have connected or they come to an event now, it's like, wow, like, you had 60 people at your event and it's amazing. But I remember when it was literally like 5 of us, like just hanging out and just enjoying this. And we're really just creating vulnerable spaces and open spaces to talk about different conversations. And this past week, seeing how it all came together was awesome. I wanted to be honest because, highlight reel versus reality. The event, amazing, like the flow, everything. But there were definitely some things on the back end that were hard. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety that day, like from the morning. I couldn't shake it off. And I was feeling like in my head, overthinking, and because that day, I had not planned anything in the morning to like calm down. I was like, okay, Liz, it's going to be a great day. You're going to take it slow. But then just things started happening. Like there was like some technical issues, and then it was like the rain, and then the humidity, and then the heat, and then all these little things that were out of our control. Um, and I started feeling like very like I was having conversations with people, and I literally felt like my mind was like going somewhere else. Like it was so hard to focus. And I have not had one of those days in a very long time where like my anxiety literally is like at its peak. And I'll be honest, I literally was like, Lord help me. I don't know what's happening right now. And I was like trying to calm down, but I was also feeling so hot because it was like the lights, they're running around and everything. And I was like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. I'm going to be okay. And by the time it was already like 4:30, no, it was like the event was starting at 5:30. And so around 5, I was still not ready. And so my friend's like, Liz, you need to go get ready ASAP. I'm like, I know, I'm going. So I ran in the back, and I usually feel like before any event, I like have like a moment to myself, and I like deep breathe, deep breath, like do my grounding techniques, like, like all is well. But in this moment, I did not have that space. So I feel like my mind was just like, I don't know, like, I was explaining this to my mentor this morning, actually, like, I don't know what happened, like, that day, like and again, no one would notice, right? Like, I don't think anyone noticed. It was just, like, me honestly being honest with you guys today. But I literally felt like my mind was, like, racing at a speed that I cannot control. And I was trying to, like, be present in the moment of, like, "Liz, okay." And because I'm very high functioning, I feel like I, like, pushed through it and nobody could notice, but I was, like, trying like, I couldn't snap out of it. Like, I really couldn't snap out of it. So all that to say is that then the guest got there, Danielle, which she was amazing, and, just being able to, like, have a, like so finish getting ready, then I got coffee, which honestly I feel like made it worse. So note to self, when you're feeling anxious, don't grab coffee because that is gonna make you feel 10 times more anxious. That's what happened. I literally grabbed the coffee, and I'm like, this is gonna calm me down. No, I felt even more jittery. And my friend literally is like, snatched the coffee from me. And she's like, you need to stop drinking this. I'm like, you're right. Thanks. Okay. So all that to say is that then it was like, all right, showtime. We're gonna start right now. Then the mics and like, okay, we were ready to go. And I was like, all right. And I was like trying to take it all in. And I'm like, okay, everything's coming together. Oh my God, everyone looks so nice. Oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. Okay. And then it was like literally, it was like 1 second. It was like, let's just breathe. And I took a deep breath, and it was like the video ended, and it was like countdown the time, and then it was like start. And then I walked up, and it was like everything was okay. Like I was able to get it under control in the moment. But I'm telling you, that has not happened in such a long time that I was literally like scared that I was going to spiral or like blink out, because that's happened to me before. So like when my anxiety gets like a lot, I talk very fast, as you guys have probably seen sometimes in episodes and stuff like that, or I just blank out. And so I was like, I like took a deep breath, and then everything flowed. But it was very scary. It was like, honestly, like, what is happening? And so I just kind of realized after that I didn't have that pause before starting. So like my adrenaline was just going, and it was just like I was just so like, all right, the next thing, that I wasn't able to. Usually what I have is like a calming spot. So technically what I would do different is I would have started way earlier to make sure that to have that kind of maybe 30 minutes or 10 minutes to calm down before. But that's usually event day flows. Like things happen that are out of your control. But then at the same time, like those are just, again, back end things that I like to share with you guys, because I never wanted to say, like, yeah, everything was perfect. But at the same time, we had amazing feedback. It was so, I felt like everybody was just so in tune with the conversation. Everybody was there. Like, like when you go to a place and it's like there's a conversation happening, and like everybody's like on their phone, like blah, blah, blah. No, like I'm telling you, like everybody was like there. Like we're having a conversation. It's not just up here. And so that was beautiful to be a part of. Just how many people have met over the past year through She Cultivates and like the events that we've done, and even people that have followed the podcast and that have supported the show, of just resonating or seeing themselves either in an episode or a conversation. And that was just amazing. Danielle shared amazing key takeaways. And I will also link the episode that we've done before. But she talked about just how sometimes our expectations of friendships is what causes the frustrations, because we expect our type of friendship or who we are as a friend to be copy paste to someone else. And that creates the tension, especially when maybe it's not communicated. And there was a lot of questions about, but like, I don't see my friend reciprocating, or I don't see this person. And like, she said something that I was like, wow. She's like, what if that friend can't give you what you want? What if that friend is there for you at the capacity that they can? Will you be okay with that? And I feel like I took away from like, you can show up as a friend and like you can do your best as a friend, but making sure to communicate your expectations, and understand that when sometimes we get frustrated as friends, it's seeing like, what is it? Is it because my expectations were met, or is it because I have unspoken expectations about my friend? And then something else that she said that was very key was that women friendships are very deep, but they're very fragile. So sometimes we are like, yeah, we have like best friends and like bestie for life. But at the same time, one thing happens and we're like, I'm done with her. I'm done with her. Like, you see, she's fake. You see, she's this and that, versus thinking about the relationship as a whole or a friendship as a whole. And so I was just super thankful for this conversation, and just seeing how many people in the room really care about friendship and connection. And in a world that's the big thing of like, right, we're in the loneliness generation, social media is taking over, like people aren't connecting. But there was people in the room when you looked around that you're like, there are people that care. There are people that are putting themselves out there to learn how to be a better friend, to learn how to be a connector, versus, maybe something else. And so just being able to be in a room with all these women was amazing. There was women of all ages. That was also something that was very awesome to see. It was like women's in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s that were there. And they were talking about it from their own perspective, of like how friendships are what helps you to thrive as a woman, like in your finances, in your relationships, can create more opportunities by the quality of friendships that you have, and even the quality of health in yourself, in your body. Friendships can contribute to that, to the contentment that you feel, the joy that you have because of the friends that you have. And so I will be maybe sharing parts of it throughout on social media, so make sure to follow us. But I am just so thankful for this community, for this podcast, for this space, because I know that through my own process, through my own evolution of myself, I've been able to grow with you guys and to be able to share different parts of my story, and parts of other people's stories that have come on this podcast. But I also know that I hope to always be the place where you feel safe and you feel seen. I know that sometimes the conversations are hard, or sometimes they're a little bit not the easiest. Like, we're not a comedy podcast or we're not a pop culture podcast, but I'm also so proud of the podcast we have built, because it's women here that really just have embraced their stories, that are not a victim to their past, is that they're trying to thrive instead of just surviving in life. And that's why one of our merch thing was made to thrive, because I know a lot of us sometimes are like, this is just how it's been, or like, I'm just here surviving. And I believe that you can heal to be able to thrive in life, in your friendships, in your relationships, in your own personal relationship with yourself, and in the way that you show up in life. And so I'm so grateful that you are here, and thank you so much for tuning into this week's podcast episode. If you need a community and you need some friends and you want to connect with people, make sure to join our She Cultivates Orlando community. Our goal one day is to be in other places and in other cities, and so to kind of start that movement of creating connections and relationships. And I'm just so excited for the next year of Beauty Works podcast, where we're going to continue to grow, to get better, to educate ourselves, and to empower other people to embrace their stories, their marks. And if you love this episode, make sure to subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and I'll see you guys next time.